There he is. Stuart,
Hey, hey.
Gentlemen,
can you hear us?
loud and clear.
That's perfect.
Excellent.
Is that a real background behind you, or is that like a CGI bush?
It's our background. It's our yard, but it's CGI. It's virtual.
Gotcha.
I love
think
it.
so.
I feel like that we are in the like woods, and you're about to start knocking down some trees or something.
Well, that's why I picked it. I wanted.
That's perfect. Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Man, so obviously, how much do you know about our show? Anything at all?
No.
So what we do is we go back and we watch every single week of TGIF exactly as it aired 30 years ago. So
Wow.
Right now we are what, Travis, through episode 5 or 6 of the first season of Dinosaurs, something like that?
Yeah. So we just wrapped up the original first season, those first 5 episodes that aired at I guess it was April of 1991.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it
So-
was. It was great.
So yeah, the plan is just to keep this thing going, finish all of TGIF somehow. I know Dinosaurs had like a weird run on TGIF. It started, like Travis said, the first season was on TGIF, and then it went to a different night, and then it came back to TGIF, right? Is that right, Travis?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You're right. So basically it was on those first 5 episodes for that mini season at the end of the I guess the second season of TGIF. It went to a different time slot during the fall of 91 and then came back in the spring of 91 or 92 to TGIF.
Okay, I'll take your word for all of this.
So what do you remember about like getting the show? Like, is this something that, like, how much did you know about Dinosaurs going in? Because it was totally different than anything that was on TV at the time.
Dinosaurs? You mean dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, what I remember is that it was a job every actor in California wanted, because it's voiceovers is great, and every actor in town auditioned for it, and so did I, and I just got lucky enough to get the gig. I remember the audition. I remember going in and reading for the part, and I think you only had to read once, and then I got it, and it's been very good to me.
Did you know?
Yeah,
Did you know that you like the form of the dinosaur? Like there was going to be a giant puppet and someone was going to be in it, or like what did you know?
So.
No,
I don't think so. I learned. Everybody that did the show, I think, learned all that stuff later.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't. I remember them showing us the puppets before. I mean, after we've done the show a while, we all. I mean, I enjoyed going down to the set when I could and looking at it, because it was a fabulous set, and the puppets were spectacular, and not that I spent a lot of time there, but like Bill Beretta was inside Earl, and a guy named Mac Wilson did the voice. Little English guy talk like this, and we're Bill and I are still friends. I've done a lot of dinosaur stuff with him on Zoom and virtual stuff because of the anniversary of Dinosaurs, and because it's also on Disney Plus. So they want to make sure that people know about that. But yeah, knowing, no, I do remember going to the set once, and I used to bring my son, and I used to, in his school, used to give dinosaur tours of the set as a fundraiser. You bid on it, and the fundraiser, and the parents would come down. So I did that a lot. I remember going down and putting the head on, which was smelling quite a thing. I just remember really enjoying the set and the look of that, and the puppets and the complicated work of the animatronic puppeteers.
Yeah.
With the I mean, that's one of the reasons it was one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, half-hour television show at the time, maybe still, to do. So, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't go on, because there's just a lot of money to maintain the puppets and the animatronics. But I'm glad we had the run that we did.
So it's technically 3 people per character? Is that right?
Yes, it's a guy inside, the worker of the animatronic eyes and mouth and all that, which can be programmed, for different emotions. Sometimes this finger, the eyes go up and down, and you can program it to make them go like this. So it's very complicated, and they work it out, I assume, based on the content of the dialogue. If they wanted Earl to be like that, they would do that. Or if they wanted him to be like that, they would do that. But yeah, three people per character, and all the animatronic characters, except the baby, Kevin Clash. He was the baby himself. He was under the set. The set was raised so they could do that.
Yeah.
And he stick his hand up, grandma and the baby, and go ahead.
So given it was that technical and that much of a production, was there any room for you as the voice of that to kind of give your own flavor, ad lib, kind of give some freedom within the script, or was it very tight as far as that goes?
Well, that's an interesting question, because that's the main difference between the work on dinosaurs and doing voiceovers for cartoons. In cartoons, you go in and you create the character, mm-hmm. and then they animate to you guys know this. They animate to your performance. In dinosaurs, the dialogue was done on set. Like I said, Mackie was a little English guy, and folks said, "Honey, I'm home." "Oh, Fran, what are you doing?" Blah 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 blah. Whatever he did, when I went into the studio, I kind of had to match his rhythms.
Oh,
right. Okay.
Which was one, technically a little bit of a challenge. Two, you had to go with his rhythms as opposed to creating your own character. So you had to. We all had to accommodate that protocol. Within that protocol, you could, if the word was protocol, you'd have to go protocol. You could go protocol or protocol. You could do changes like that, but you couldn't jump around too much from the rhythm and the mouth movement of the puppet.
Interesting.
I was going to ask you if you could still do the Earl voice, but I can already hear it coming out when you're telling us these stories.
Oh yeah, there's it, honey. Yeah, I haven't. I do it occasionally. People ask me to do it. I do it. It was fun, and I actually based the character on a wonderful old movie star, a character I had called Davy Burns. He sort of talked like this, and that became kind of where I started it. But then Earl, he could be angry and he could be friendly, don't. So there was those elements in the script in the shows that you could have fun with and change. So he wasn't rigid in. In the beginning they kind of wanted him a little more angry because they said he was a big dinosaur, big puppet. But then I pushed back a little bit, and you began to get the other moments with the family, with the baby, as opposed to just, Fran, come in, whatever.
And it became such an iconic character. I mean, I think now we couldn't imagine anybody else doing the voice. And yeah, and you really did bring a lot to that. Were you able to? I know you said you were on the set occasionally, but how often did you actually go and get to be a part of production days and have any kind of interaction there, or was it purely studio work that you were doing?
No, it was. I never was involved with the production days except maybe to go there and watch them film it.
Sure.
But it was a pretty separate distinction between the set days and the voiceover days. In the beginning, we used to have stage read. In the very beginning, we had reading of the script. The first day, all the cast got together with the producers and the Disney people, Michael Jacobs and Brian Henson, and we read the script. Eventually, they realized that wasn't necessary because with the it was pretty well programmed when we got on the set what we were going to do. We didn't have to read the script, and because we didn't. I mean, Bill Barretto was very nice. He said that sometimes my readings gave them when they were doing other parts and other shows. If they heard me do something in a studio, they would try to get elements of that in the movement. Right. If I'm making this up. If Fran, don't give me all that. So they would, instead of say, Fran, don't give me all that, they would occasionally do, Fran, don't give me all that. They would somehow accommodate me. Not a lot. Everybody had their own thing to do. And in the beginning of the pilot, I remember taking 2 8-hour days to do.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because everybody wanted it just, and then eventually we went. I went in. I'm sure most of us went in, and we did it in a day, and not a few hours, but a day's work, morning and afternoon.
Sure.
Now, I was kind of looking through your IMDb page, and from what I can tell, is this the first voice acting job that you had, or had you done the previous? No, it wasn't. Okay.
Oh no! When I was in doing not necessarily the news, I got to, I don't know how I did it, but I got to meet the Disney casting people, and I did a bunch of cartoon voices.
Okay.
Before Dinosaurs, I did a bunch afterwards too.
Right.
But I think I did. I don't remember. I don't remember the dates, but I think I was doing voiceover work in the 80s before I got Dinosaurs.
Now, you talked about the recording process for this and doing it after the fact. Was that hard for you to make that transition, or did it kind of come natural?
When you do movies, you sometimes have to do ADR. You know what that is, automatic dialogue replacement. And if a car goes by, when you're saying, sweetheart, get me the milk, you'd have to go into the studio and match your voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would replace your dialogue to make it, or they wanted to change a word or whatever. So I wasn't unused to that process. The thing about Dinosaurs is you had to be a little careful to match the movements. They weren't strict because the mouth wasn't that articulated. They could be pretty good about it, but it wasn't like a mouth, like we're doing this and that and the other thing. It was broad strokes, but you had to be kind of careful to match the rhythms of the mouth so that it wouldn't look silly. It wouldn't look off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I wasn't unaware of that process because of ADR, and it's just that you do what you do as an actor. You go in, they tell you what to do, and you learn how to do it.
Absolutely. So a lot of the genius from the show comes from Jim Henson Studios. Did you have a chance to interact with him or meet Jim Henson before? I know he passed away briefly, like kind of right before the show went on.
Yeah, I met Jim Henson once in a publicity thing that we all went. You go to hotels and they line you up and they interview you for different venues, different media, print, television, whatever. So I met him once, but I didn't really interact with him. Brian. Sure. We interacted much more with Brian, who really ran the Dinosaur show. I mean, the Henson people under Brian were the bastion of Dinosaurs as far as their company.
Gotcha.
So, like we said, we're going back. We're watching these episodes now, 30 years later. And this is one of those shows that, it really holds up. Like, there's something about it that you can watch now, and there's still parallels to things that are going on in the world today. Like, what do you credit for that? Like, is that all writer stuff, or like, where does that come from?
It comes from the writers.
Yeah.
They look at the news and they comment either on sociological things or political things, and that's what made it appealing to adults. The puppets, the kids love the puppets because they look great, and the adults love the content as far as give peas a chance or Harris hand up me as the newscaster, and the political stuff that they did, and the social comments that they did. But that's the writers.
Yeah, just like you said, though, like when I watched this show originally, I was a kid and I don't remember any of like the story going on. All I remember is the baby hitting the dad and stuff like that. But now watching it again, it's a totally different show.
Yeah. Well, that's the strength of the show, I think. And that's why people still like it. Look, I'm not bragging, although,
brag away, go for it. Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine.
But since the pandemic started, we had a pandemic out here in California.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic started, probably since March of last year, April, maybe May, about 6 or 8 months into the pandemic, I started to get, and it's not me, it's the show as well, 2 to 4 autograph requests a day, sending me the Funko Pop thing with it, and pictures. Yeah, and pictures. and when it hit Disney Plus, that I think that became it. But people still like this show. I mean, that they're still reacting to the show, and I don't see how it would go out of style. I mean, with the cleverness of the puppets and the cleverness of even if you look at it in terms of time when it was done, which you have to, and the content of the scripts. I just think people, adults and kids, they can grow up and they think. People tell me, "Oh, I watched it when I was a kid, and I'm showing my family dinosaurs." I think it can go on and on for a long time. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, some of those topics, even back then and still today, were kind of taboo and touchy, and you all handled them in somewhat of a subversive way. Did you ever get any kind of pushback from the network or from Disney in regards to toning some of the themes down, or was there kind of free reign to have that fun?
The easy answer is I don't know. I mean,
okay.
I wasn't in the writer for it, but I don't remember hearing the writers or the producers. Incidentally, all these writers are now going on to be showrunners and writers. Most of them, very successful, have shows of their own. But I don't remember anybody saying, "Oh, Jane Murray from New Jersey hated the thing about the sexual harassment thing." I mean, I don't remember anything negative about that. It could be wrong. I mean, if you ask one of the producers, they could say, "Oh yeah, we used to get letters all the time."
Right.
I mean, people write in and they complain about even during when I was doing theater a lot. I mean, sometimes you do plays and you get people, objecting to it. I mean, really objecting to it, the sexual content, the language, so people love to be victims. They love to, and virtue signal and complain about stuff. But I think I didn't hear anything bad about dinosaurs. And to be honest with you, I don't think, from what I remember, there's a lot to complain about. I mean, you don't have a lot of, a real strong soapbox to stand up there and complain about what was on dinosaurs.
Sure.
Like we said, we're a TGIF podcast. We're not just a dinosaurs podcast, but you were on an episode of Family Matters as well, another TGIF show.
I was.
What we haven't got to that episode. I think it airs like 2 years from now from where we're actually at.
Couple years.
So
I'll be dead by then.
we were gonna book you right now for it from 2 years from now. But no, what do you remember about that? Do you remember working with the cast or anything on that show?
Yeah, I think I was a car salesman, a kind of a sleazy car salesman. I play sleazy characters a lot, and I remember who was the kid who Urkel? What was his name?
Yeah, Jaleel White.
Jaleel White.
I remember after a rehearsal, he came and we were sitting around the room with notes. He had a paper bag on his head. And somebody said, "What the hell are you doing?" And he says, "I was terrible in that rehearsal. I'm embarrassed to look at you." So I remember that, and I remember the character, the car salesman. Uh-huh. There's nothing that I've done in my career that I can't come away with positive things. I mean, there's very little, if any, negative things about show business. It's a good life.
Did you have many other interactions with any of the other casts across the TGIF shows while you were in Dinosaurs?
Name a few TGIF shows.
Let's see. Step by Step would have been right around that same time. The cast of Baby Talk. Baby Talk was in season 2.
No one knows that show, so don't worry.
No one knows
that.
Perfect Strangers. The Balky and Larry Bronson Pinchot.
I did a movie with Bronson Pinchot, but I never loved the show. And Joel Zwick.
Right. Yeah.
He directed that movie, so that's my only connection with Perfect Strangers.
Okay.
Full House, maybe.
Well, I worked with Bob Saget. Worked with Saget a bunch of times. We shared a school too, and we did a movie together, and
cool.
Benefits. So, but not the show. Those bastards never cast me in Full
House.
Looking
back in your career, what was the most fun project you ever had?
Oh, that's a terrible question. How can I answer that? Well, I'll tell you. Most of the stuff that I love was on stage. I mean, I've been a stage actor since I was, in college. Started at 17, 18 in college. So most of the stuff because the stage materials is more interesting. I mean, quite frankly, it's more challenging. And that I can say that I loved. As far as movies, well, Fatal Attraction was a really good experience for me. There's some smaller movies, The Dirt Bike Kid, that I did, for a director, Hoyt Caston, who was working on, not necessarily the news. I did a movie, I won't talk about it a lot, but it was done on video in a warehouse someplace with a bunch of, it was about a jury, so there was 11 or 12 of us, and I had the most fun of my life on that thing. Nobody knows about the movie. I think it was called One Dozen. Lloyd Schwartz, who was the son of Sherwood Schwartz, who did the Brady Brides and all. Lloyd directed it. I still keep in touch with him. But favorite, I
didn't say favorite. I said most fun, and you said the jury one was the most fun.
I think so.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that was the most fun.
And that's the answer I'm looking for, like something like that.
Yeah, but like I said, a lot of people, when we were doing Not the News, we were interviewed by TV Guide, and after the interview, they called each of us up and said, everybody seems to like each other so much. Don't you have any dirt on anybody? Don't you have any fight? Because people want that, you know? And we all said, no, that was fun. Not the News was great. I'm still friends with all those guys, except for, God bless him, the late Danny Green. But no, there's very few things that I didn't enjoy, have fun with. There's some that I did that I didn't have a lot to do, and it was kind of boring.
Sure.
But fun, they were all positive. That people in interviews don't like to hear that, but that's the truth.
On that same vein, as far as fun goes, did you have a good story from the set of Dinosaurs? It's something you reminisce on, where it was just you and the cast having a good time. I guess not on the set, but working in the studio with that cast.
Well, working in the studio, we worked alone. Everybody came in and worked alone. So Kim Rosenfeld was the voice producer. And that was fun too. We got to know the guys in the booth, and we used to have lunch breaks, because it took, morning and afternoon. And that was fun. But stories, it's hard to ask a voiceover guy to have crazy stories, because we actually, let me see if I have it. I don't know if you can read that. We did this. We had these made for us. Do you see that? Does that come out?
It does. I think, therefore I am is what the head
Is it
says.
backwards?
Yes.
It's good.
No, it's good. Yeah, we can see it. We can see it good. The listening audience will not be able to see it, but I think, therefore I am is the hat.
I think, therefore I am. We had these hats made for Dinosaurs, and also when Dinosaurs was over, a lot of times I used this headshot to get jobs.
Nice.
Because I was known about that. But that's it. That's the fun story of the voiceover booth.
Throughout your career, were you ever given any advice that you kind of remember and keep with you throughout, something that you always go back and remember what this guy told me, and something that I always use, or anything like that?
You mean as far as
acting advice, or something to bring to the studio or something? Was there anything that you remember that someone told you from a long time ago that you carried with you?
Well, my wife, on the same line as being interviewed, my wife said, never say anything bad about anybody. That's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I've had discussions and contretemps with the people on sets, but it was never about money or dressing rooms. It was always about the work, because I used to come in and rewrite stuff, not big chunks, but tweak lines and stuff. And Joy, my wife, said, if they like it, accept it. If they don't, just walk away. The problem is, you have to be. There's a lot of actors there in Screen Actors Guild, and there's 95% unemployment. There's lots of choices. There's a lot of good actors out there, and you don't want to make waves. You don't want to get pushed around, but you don't want to be the squeaky wheel in a cast of whatever, 2, 3, 5, 10. So that's advice that she gave me that I would pass on to any other actor. Come in, it's come in, learn your lines. Jimmy Cagney said that. Learn your lines, don't bump into the furniture. That's, learning your, it sounds strange, but learning your lines is a very good piece of advice for actors coming,
good place to start,
especially, or movies, because you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of rehearsal.
It's great to see that you're still doing stuff too. Like, you've got stuff that you've already recorded and filmed that hasn't even come out yet, right?
Well, there's a couple of projects. One is called Deep in the Forest that we did just before the pandemic. That's going to be released somehow. I just heard that Saban Entertainment picked it up for our distribution. There's a movie that I did for dear friends Jerry Soroka and Marion Hartley, a sort of a autobiographical movie about her life. And I hope that comes out too, because she asked a lot of her friends just to do little bit parts. And I had a great deal of fun doing it. I'm not answering that.
Not me, I promise.
I'm not, I don't even know what that. I don't. Oh, it's my brother. Let's just say, don't answer the phone because it's going to screw up the interview. Don't answer the phone because it's screw up. All right, he'll hang up soon. No,
or not.
It wasn't even my phone; it was my wife's.
Ah, it's all good.
Totally lost where I was at.
Oh, me too. I was actually doing an interview with Bill Beretta. We call him the sweaty part of Earl, and I'm the blabby part of Earl. And the power went off, so at least that didn't happen.
That's good. That hasn't happened.
Are you online anywhere, like social media or anything, if anyone wants to follow you, or you kind of do your own thing now?
Well, I mean, I'm on Facebook, and my daughter-in-law made me join Twitter.
That's how we found you, was Twitter. So that
you found me on Twitter. Oh well, there you go.
You liked a couple of our posts, and we reached out, and then went around some other channels to get to you. But yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I know you contacted my agent, which was great.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, Stuart, I mean, thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for spending this time. It's awesome, and we are loving going back and watching the show 30 years later.
Good. I'm happy. I'm pleased with the show. I'm proud of the show. Although, I mean, I was just a small part of it. I was a small, big part of it.
Yeah.
But it's great. I mean, I'm very gratified the way Earl has remained in people's minds and hearts.
Absolutely.
And it was a great show to do. It was a great job to have. It was difficult to do sometimes, but a great job to have. And I'm glad I'm thrilled to talk to you guys. In fact,
what's an episode we should keep an eye out for coming up that you really, really, really like?
In Dinosaurs?
And Dinosaurs. Which one that we should really keep an eye out for?
Well, the episode in Dinosaurs that got the most controversy, if talk about controversy, that there might have been some negative things, was the last episode when the dinosaurs died. There, as I think about it, there were parents probably who said, "How can you do that to the kids? You kill off the dinosaurs." I thought it was a great episode. And very touching, and
Absolutely.
it was great. It was, as far as the dinosaur people, I think it was one of our favorite episodes. And I looked at it recently because I was going to be talking to Bill, and I was very moved by it. I mean, it was very well written. I think everybody did a really good job, and it was very touching that these little dinosaurs got the axe.
I don't know if there's a more appropriate series finale in the history of television than the last episode of Dinosaurs.
Yeah, you're probably right. It certainly beats The Sopranos. Let's put it that way.
I think a lot of people will agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that I'm glad that they, I guess, knew that the show was coming to an end.
Right.
And they had the opportunity to end it the way they wanted to end it.
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking about it, and it's really good. I mean, it's good. It's good storytelling. It's good writing, and I think that everybody in the cast did a great job. And so that's the one that I would point to. Although it got, some people objected to it because it made the kids uncomfortable. Mommy, you mean they're dead? That's like, grow up, learn to
Don't worry,
life.
Urkel's going to be on in 10 minutes. You'll forget about it.
With a paper bag over his head, probably.
Right.
Stuart,
Right.
Thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Pleasure talking to you.